Vince Carter's basketball journey is one of the most extraordinary stories in NBA history because it was never defined by only one era, one skill, or one identity. Most players are remembered for a specific phase of their career. Some dominate briefly and disappear. Others evolve but lose the greatness that once made them special. Vince Carter somehow did both. He became one of the most explosive athletes basketball had ever seen, then transformed himself into one of the league's most respected veterans, extending his career across 4 different decades. His story is not simply about highlights or longevity. It is about reinvention, pressure, criticism, redemption, and survival in a sport that constantly changes. Born on January 26, 1977, in Daytona Beach, Florida, Vince Carter grew up in a family that valued discipline, education, and hard work. Basketball entered his life early, but athleticism alone never defined him as a child. He was talented in multiple sports and even showed strong musical ability growing up. Yet basketball gradually became the center of his focus because of how naturally the game came to him. From a young age, Carter displayed unusual body control and explosiveness. He could jump effortlessly, move fluidly, and finish plays in ways that immediately separated him from other young athletes. But what many people overlooked early was his intelligence and work ethic. Coaches noticed quickly that Carter absorbed instruction seriously. He was not simply relying on natural gifts. As he developed through high school, Carter emerged as one of the top basketball prospects in the country. At Mainland High School in Daytona Beach, his athletic ability became impossible to ignore. Crowds filled gyms to watch him play. Scouts traveled constantly to evaluate him. Yet even as attention increased, Carter maintained a relatively grounded personality. Unlike some young stars consumed by hype, Carter often appeared quiet and thoughtful off the court. That contrast became part of what fascinated people. On the floor, he played with violence, explosiveness, and creativity. Off the floor, he carried himself calmly. Eventually, Carter committed to the University of North Carolina, one of college basketball's most prestigious programs. Under legendary coach Dean Smith, North Carolina emphasized fundamentals, teamwork, and discipline. For Carter, the environment became transformative. At North Carolina, Carter refined his game beyond athleticism. He improved his shooting, learned defensive concepts more deeply, and developed a stronger understanding of team basketball. Although his dunks captured headlines, his overall game continued expanding quietly. Playing alongside future NBA talent also taught Carter important lessons about sacrifice and adaptability. He learned that winning required more than highlights. Possession discipline, defensive effort, and consistency mattered equally. Even during college, however, it was obvious that Carter possessed athletic ability unlike almost anyone in basketball. His dunks became legendary before he ever reached the NBA. Teammates and opponents described practices where Carter performed things that barely seemed physically possible. Yet despite the growing hype, questions still followed him entering the NBA draft. Some scouts wondered whether Carter's personality was aggressive enough to become a superstar. Others questioned whether he relied too heavily on athleticism offensively. But in the 1998 NBA draft, the Golden State Warriors selected Carter 5th overall before immediately trading him to the Toronto Raptors. That trade changed basketball history forever. At the time, the Raptors were still a relatively young franchise searching for identity and relevance. Basketball popularity in Canada had not yet exploded globally. Carter would ultimately change both realities. From the moment he entered the NBA, Vince Carter electrified basketball audiences instantly. His rookie season showcased a level of athleticism rarely seen before. He attacked defenders fearlessly, elevated over opponents effortlessly, and completed dunks that looked almost unreal in real time. Fans did not simply watch Carter play, they anticipated spectacle every possession. He won Rookie of the Year and quickly became the face of the Raptors franchise. But more importantly, he became the face of basketball in Canada. Children across Canada suddenly cared about basketball differently because of Vince Carter. Courts filled with young players trying to imitate his dunks. Television ratings increased. Merchandise sales exploded. Carter transformed Toronto into one of basketball's most exciting environments almost overnight. Then came the dunk contest. The 2000 NBA Slam Dunk Contest permanently altered Vince Carter's legacy. Many fans and analysts still consider it the greatest dunk contest performance in basketball history. Every dunk felt impossible. Windmills, reverse finishes, elbow in the rim creativity. Carter combined power, grace, creativity, and confidence unlike anyone before him. His performance transcended basketball. Even people who barely followed sports understood they were witnessing something special. The contest elevated Carter into global superstardom instantly. He became more than an NBA player. He became a cultural icon. But with fame came pressure. As Carter's popularity exploded, expectations increased dramatically. Toronto expected championships. Fans expected greatness nightly. Media scrutiny intensified constantly. For a period, Carter delivered brilliantly. He evolved into one of the NBA's elite scorers while remaining the league's most exciting athlete. His shooting improved dramatically, making him far more complete offensively. He could attack the rim violently, shoot from deep range, and create offense under pressure. One of the defining moments of Carter's early career came during the 2001 NBA playoffs against the Philadelphia 76ers. Carter and Allen Iverson engaged in one of the most memorable playoff scoring battles of the era. Both stars carried enormous offensive burdens while trading spectacular performances. Game 7 became legendary partly because of the emotional circumstances surrounding Carter. Earlier that day, he attended his college graduation ceremony before flying to Philadelphia for the game. Under enormous pressure, Carter narrowly missed a potential game-winning shot at the buzzer. That miss haunted discussions about his career for years. As time passed, injuries also began affecting Carter physically. Knee issues reduced some explosiveness and interrupted momentum during critical seasons. Meanwhile, tensions between Carter and the Raptors organization gradually increased. Criticism intensified. Some accused Carter of lacking toughness. Others questioned leadership and commitment. The relationship between Carter and Toronto deteriorated publicly, eventually leading to one of the most controversial exits in NBA history. In 2004, Carter was traded to the New Jersey Nets. The move dramatically reshaped his career. In New Jersey, Carter regained joy and explosiveness offensively. Playing alongside Jason Kidd and Richard Jefferson created one of the league's most exciting teams. Carter thrived within a faster-paced system and re-established himself as one of basketball's elite scorers. Yet despite strong production, narratives surrounding him remained complicated. Some fans never forgave how his Toronto era ended. Critics continued questioning whether he maximized his talent fully. Fair or unfair, Carter spent much of his prime balancing spectacular production with constant scrutiny. Still, his consistency remained impressive. Year after year, Carter produced offensively while evolving his game gradually. As athleticism naturally declined with age, he adapted. His shooting improved further. His footwork sharpened. His understanding of spacing and timing deepened. Many athletic stars struggle emotionally once physical dominance fades. Carter adjusted intelligently instead. As he moved through later stages of his career with teams like Orlando, Phoenix, Dallas, Memphis, Sacramento, and Atlanta, Carter embraced reinvention fully. Rather than chasing unrealistic versions of his younger self, he transformed into a veteran leader. That transformation may be the most underrated part of his legacy. Younger players across the league respected Carter deeply because he accepted evolution without ego. Former superstar scorers often struggle accepting reduced roles. Carter embraced mentorship naturally. He became a locker room leader, teacher, and stabilizing presence. Young teammates consistently praised his professionalism, preparation, and basketball intelligence. His longevity became historic. Carter eventually played 22 NBA seasons, the most in league history at the time. He became the only player ever to appear in NBA games across 4 different decades. That achievement reflected not just talent, but adaptability and discipline. Remaining in the NBA that long requires accepting constant change. Roles shrink. Minutes decline. Public attention shifts elsewhere. Carter handled those realities with maturity. Late in his career, many fans rediscovered appreciation for him differently. Younger audiences who never witnessed his prime dunking years respected him as a veteran mentor. Older fans reflected nostalgically on how transformative his peak athleticism truly was. Financially, Carter's long NBA career created enormous success. Contracts, endorsements, and broadcasting opportunities expanded his influence far beyond playing alone. Yet despite wealth and fame, he maintained a reputation as approachable and thoughtful. Off the court, Carter also became heavily involved in philanthropy and community work. Throughout his career, he invested in education initiatives, youth development, and charitable programs. Those efforts reflected the grounded values instilled during childhood. As basketball evolved stylistically across decades, Carter adapted continuously. He entered the league during an era built around physical isolation basketball and mid-range scoring. He survived into an era dominated by spacing, pace, and three-point shooting. Few players in NBA history successfully navigated such dramatic stylistic shifts. That adaptability defines his legacy as much as the highlights. Of course, the highlights remain unforgettable. The dunks, the alley-oops, the windmills. The Olympic dunk over Frederick Weiss during the 2000 Olympics, often called one of the greatest in-game dunks ever performed. Carter created moments that permanently embedded themselves into basketball culture. But reducing Vince Carter to highlights alone misses the larger story. His journey was also about criticism, reinvention, survival, and maturity. He experienced adoration and backlash. He experienced superstardom and role-player status. He evolved from global icon to respected veteran mentor. Very few athletes navigate all those phases successfully. What makes Carter's story especially powerful is how human it feels. His career was not perfect. Mistakes happened. Relationships fractured. Expectations sometimes overwhelmed reality. Yet he continued adapting instead of collapsing under criticism. That resilience ultimately reshaped public perception over time. By the end of his career, Carter was celebrated not only for what he accomplished physically, but for how gracefully he evolved emotionally and professionally. Fans appreciated his longevity, humility, and love for basketball itself. Younger generations continue discovering his highlights online today because they still feel unbelievable. Even in an era filled with incredible athletes, Vince Carter's explosiveness remains unique. But perhaps the greatest compliment to his legacy is this: he inspired multiple generations differently. Older fans remember the superstar who made basketball feel airborne. Younger players remember the veteran who taught professionalism and adaptation. Canadian basketball fans remember the athlete who transformed an entire country's relationship with the sport. Very few players impact basketball culture that broadly. Vince Carter's career reminds us that greatness is not always linear. Sometimes it evolves. Sometimes it survives criticism. Sometimes it requires reinvention. He entered basketball history as perhaps the greatest dunker ever. He left basketball history as something even more impressive, one of the most adaptable and enduring players the NBA has ever seen. And decades from now, basketball fans will still remember the feeling Vince Carter created whenever he left the ground. Thank you to all the fans for watching and supporting this story. Your appreciation for basketball history, perseverance, reinvention, and greatness gives meaning to journeys like Vince Carter's. If you enjoyed this long-form documentary-style story, please like, share, and subscribe for more powerful NBA stories and athlete journeys. We sincerely thank you for being part of the journey.